Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I still remember the way she said it. Bonnie and I were at the kitchen table, halfway through takeout from the Thai place. She was not really eating, her jaw tight. I thought maybe she was upset about the florist mix-up we'd been dealing with that morning. Then she looked up at me, eyes steady, and dropped the bomb. "I need an open relationship," she said, voice flat but sharp, "or the wedding is off." Just like that. No build-up, no softening, no explanation first. 5 years together, 1 year engaged, and she threw that sentence across the table like a grenade. For a moment, I just watched her. She expected an explosion. I could see it in the way she braced her shoulders. She was waiting for yelling, or begging, or maybe tears. Instead, I set my fork down and leaned back in my chair. "Okay," I said calmly. Her lips parted. A flicker of surprise broke across her face. She blinked twice, like she hadn't heard me right. "Wait, okay?" "You said you need it," I replied, keeping my voice even. "So, okay." Bonnie leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "That's it? You're just agreeing? What else is there to say? You gave me a choice. Open relationship or no wedding. So, we'll do it your way." She searched my face for cracks, for anger, for sarcasm. I didn't give her any. Inside, yeah, it hit me hard. But on the outside, I stayed composed. Finally, she scoffed. "You don't mean that. You're just saying it to win." "No," I said, shaking my head. "If this is what you feel you need, then I accept it. Tomorrow, we can talk about rules." Bonnie sat back, silent. For once, she looked unsettled, like the ground beneath her had shifted. And maybe it had. She wanted a game of ultimatums. I had just agreed to play. The next evening, Bonnie came into the living room with a notepad in her hand. She sat across from me on the couch, legs crossed, pen tapping against the paper. Her voice was more careful than the night before, like she was trying to make this sound reasonable. "So, ground rules," she began. "If we're doing this, it has to be respectful. No lying, no sneaking around, always protection. And if one of us asks, we answer honestly." I nodded. "Makes sense. Anything else?" She hesitated, chewing the inside of her cheek. "No curfews. Just be considerate." I leaned forward and wrote the rules down on my phone as she said them, word for word. She watched me type, frowning slightly, as if she didn't expect me to take her so literally. "All right," I said, setting the phone down. "Those are the rules. We stick to them." Bonnie let out a nervous laugh. "This feels so weird, doesn't it?" "Different, yeah," I said evenly, "but clear." Later that night, after she went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table scrolling through my contacts. Over the years, Bonnie had mentioned in passing which of her friends found me attractive or had made casual comments about me. She'd always laughed about it, like it was nothing. I remembered those names. I sent a short message to Paige, her longtime friend who always seemed warm and curious. "Hey, coffee this week?" Just casual. Bonnie and I agreed to open things up. Her reply came within minutes. "Wait, she said that? And yes, I'd like that." Then I reached out to Clara, one of Bonnie's co-workers I'd spoken with at office parties. "Dinner sometime soon?" "Bonnie and I are trying an open setup. Just wanted to ask straight." Clara's reply was slower, more cautious. "That's unexpected, but dinner could work." 2 simple texts, both within the rules Bonnie laid down herself. When I finally shut off the light and headed to bed, Bonnie was already asleep, her breathing steady. She had no idea I'd already set the wheels in motion. By Thursday evening, I decided it was time to bring it up. Bonnie was curled on the couch, scrolling through her phone when I walked in and spoke casually, like I was mentioning weekend errands. "Just so you know," I said, "I've got coffee with Paige tomorrow. Dinner with Clara on Saturday." Her head snapped up. "I'm sorry. What?" "Coffee. With Paige. Dinner with Clara." I repeated it slowly, calmly. "I thought I should give you a heads up." Her phone slipped onto the cushion beside her. "Jordan, those are my friends, my people. You can't—" "Why not?" I asked. My voice stayed level. "You said open. You set the rules. No lying, no sneaking, protection, honesty. I'm following all of that." Her face flushed. "I didn't mean people we know. I thought you'd, I don't know, download an app or something. Go out with strangers. I raised an eyebrow. That wasn't part of the rules. You didn't say strangers only. You said honest, respectful, safe. I'm doing exactly that. She pushed herself upright, arms folded tight across her chest. This is different. This is crossing a line. Paige is practically family. And Clara, she works with me. You're trying to hurt me. No, I said evenly. I'm playing by the rules you gave me. If the rules only applied to you, you should have said so. For a moment, Bonnie just stared at me, her mouth opening and closing like she couldn't find the right words. She had expected me to sulk, maybe to stall, maybe to give her space while she tested the waters. She hadn't imagined I would step in as decisively as she had demanded. Finally, she muttered, "This isn't what I wanted." "Then you should have been clear," I replied, "but until you say otherwise, this is what we agreed to." The silence that followed was heavy. For the first time since she'd made her declaration, Bonnie looked rattled, and I could see, in her eyes, she hadn't planned for this part at all. Friday afternoon, I met Paige at a cafe near her office. She was already there, waving when I walked in. Her smile was polite, but her eyes carried curiosity. "So it's true," she said once we sat down with our drinks. "Bonnie really asked for this?" "Her words, not mine," I replied. "She told me she needed an open relationship, or the wedding was off." I told her okay. Paige stirred her coffee slowly. "I'll be honest, Jordan, I didn't think you'd actually go along with it. Bonnie said you'd fight her on it." "I don't see the point of fighting what someone insists they need," I said. Paige studied me for a moment, then leaned in. "There's something you should know. Bonnie mentioned a guy at work, Victor. She's been dropping his name a lot lately. Funny, charming, always hanging around her desk. A few weeks ago, she asked me if I'd cover for her if she went out with him, once things were more flexible. Those were her words. I felt the weight of that sink in, but didn't let it show. "She told you that?" Paige nodded, lowering her voice. She framed this whole open relationship idea as if it were about exploration, freedom before marriage. But it was really about making room for him. She just didn't expect you to take part, too. I sat back, sipping my coffee. Interesting. The rest of our coffee was light, surface-level chatter. When we parted, we hugged briefly, nothing more. On the drive home, I thought about Victor, about Bonnie's timing, about her sudden need for an open relationship. It was no coincidence. She wanted a door unlocked. She just hadn't expected me to walk through it first. Saturday evening, I met Clara at a quiet Italian place across town. She looked a little nervous at first, but by the time appetizers arrived, the tension eased. Clara was sharp, funny, and unafraid to speak plainly. "She really put you in this spot?" she asked, sipping her wine. "She did," I said. Her exact words, "I need an open relationship or the wedding is off." Clara shook her head. I shouldn't be surprised. She's been talking about freedom for weeks. At work, she's been laying the groundwork, telling people you're strict, that you don't let her breathe. She wanted everyone to see her as trapped, so she could justify all this. I let that sink in, then asked, "Did she mention anyone in particular?" Clara gave me a knowing look. "Victor. He's been showing up at every happy hour, always by her side, always laughing a little too hard at her jokes. Everyone sees it. She's not subtle." I thanked Clara for being honest. The rest of dinner was pleasant, just conversation, nothing physical. By the time I dropped her off, I'd already decided how to handle the storm waiting at home. When I walked into the apartment, Bonnie was on the couch, arms crossed, jaw set. "How was your date?" she asked, her tone sharp. "Dinner was good," I said. "Clara's easy to talk to." Her eyes narrowed. "You're enjoying this. You're deliberately trying to humiliate me." I stayed calm. "I'm following your rules. I'm not hiding anything. This is what you asked for." Bonnie stood up, hands clenched at her sides. "No, you're twisting it. It was supposed to give me space, not this." "Then you should have said so," I replied evenly. "You didn't want space. You wanted permission. For Victor." Her face went pale, then flushed. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know enough," I said. "If you want to end this, say the words. Otherwise, I'll keep doing exactly what you demanded." For a moment, she looked like she might scream, but nothing came out. She just stood there, trembling with frustration. And I knew then, the next conversation would decide everything. Sunday afternoon, I asked Bonnie to sit down at the table. No phones, no distractions, just the two of us. She looked wary, like she knew what was coming. "Bonnie," I started, calm and steady, "we need to settle this. Either we end the open relationship, or we end the engagement. There's no middle ground." She bit her lip. "You're making this dramatic. I just needed some room before we got married." "Room for who?" I asked, leaning in. "Victor?" Her eyes flickered just for a second. That was enough. "You don't understand," she said quickly. "I wasn't going to do anything serious. I just wanted to see him a little. It didn't mean I don't love you. It didn't mean I wanted to end us." I shook my head. "You told me, open relationship or the wedding is off. That wasn't about clarity, Bonnie. That was a demand. You handed me an ultimatum, and now you're angry that I didn't play the part you wanted me to play." She slammed her palm on the table. "I didn't think you'd actually go through with it." "That's the problem," I said evenly. "You thought I'd fold, that I'd fight to keep you from walking out. You wanted freedom without consequences, but now you're facing them." Her voice cracked. "So that's it? You're throwing everything away? 5 years, just like that?" "No," I said. "You did that when you tied our marriage to this idea. You set the terms, and I agreed. Now you've shown me what our future would look like. Me holding on while you test boundaries. I can't build a marriage on that." She stared at me, eyes wide, searching for a way back. But there wasn't one. "I'll start calling the vendors tomorrow," I said quietly. "We'll split the apartment. I'll cover my share of the costs. It's over, Bonnie." For the first time in all of this, she didn't argue. She just sat there, silent, with tears sliding down her face. The following week was a blur of phone calls and cancellations. The venue deposit was gone. The caterer kept half the payment. The florist sighed when I told her and said she'd suspected something was off. Each call cost money, but with every vendor scratched from the list, I felt lighter. Bonnie didn't fight me on logistics. She barely spoke at all. When she did, it was mostly to accuse. "You're cold," she said one night. "Heartless. I can't believe you'd walk away so easily." "Not easily," I corrected. "Calmly. There's a difference." Her family didn't take it quietly. Her sister texted me paragraphs about how I was selfish. Her mother called my phone twice, demanding explanations. I gave none. My parents already knew the story. My father shook his head, and my mother said I'd done the right thing. That was enough. Meanwhile, Paige reached out once, just to say she was sorry for how it all played out. Clara sent a short message too. "You did the right thing. She wasn't fair to you." Neither of them had spoken to Bonnie since. Victor never appeared. No calls, no texts, no grand declarations. He stayed silent, leaving Bonnie to handle the fallout alone. A week later, I met Bonnie at the apartment one last time. She stood in the doorway, arms folded, trying to muster some of the confidence she had the night she made her declaration. But it was gone. "You ruined everything," she said flatly. I looked at her steady. "No, you did. The moment you said the wedding depended on this. The consequences were yours to face." She didn't reply. She just turned and walked back inside. As I carried the last box, I thought back to that night at the kitchen table. Her words had been sharp, final. "I need an open relationship or the wedding is off." And my answer, just as final, had been, "Okay." She gambled. She lost. And I walked away, calm, clear, and free. Thank you for watching.